Let's continue with a poem titled Storytelling by Dolores Stewart. Come in out of the darkness, come in where the fire casts shadows of longing. Sit near each other, hold hands while I tell you a story that has never been told. A story with music, a flute and singing, a drum and dancing. A story of life's circle and the hungry wolves waiting for the caribou. And the caribou lingering over a feast of lichen. And ravens poised in the trees at the edges of wolves' eyes. A story with grandmother spiders stealing a piece of the sun. A story with medicine plants and sacred weeds. A story of how men and women found each other. Of how Coyote got his cunning. Of Arrow Boy. Of Owl's big tapping, always the owl, the death bird. And the mouse, timorous, scuttling into its den. A story of you, and you, and you. What does it mean, this dream fruit? Nothing more than to peel and eat the sweet, juicy flesh, to let its seeds become part of your spirit. Long after I'm gone, you will remember a story that never happened, how things that never were came into being. What does it mean, this dream fruit? Nothing more than to peel it and eat it. Because stories are in a way food. Food for the soul, food for the heart, food for the inner landscapes of our psyche. Michail, a renowned, wise mythologist, brings awareness to how the word story and storage are connected, as if stories have stored messages or stored food. I like to imagine stories as this room in the house where the food is stored. And when there is no more food available in the fridge, then we need to go to the pantry and feed from that. That's the nutrition that lasts long. And this nutrition that all the stories hold is a gift from our ancestors. Because we are speaking about ancient stories here. This course is about old stories, stories of hundreds, maybe thousands of years in this earth. And it fascinates me and it mesmerizes me of how these stories have traveled throughout the time and through the distance to reach us, me and Bogdan now and you right now. And just hold for a little while, hold a little bit there and go back into the line and the process that each story followed. From mouth to ear, from ear to mouth, traveling. Maybe each storyteller crafting it, refining it a little bit more, making sure that the right nutrition is arriving to you right now.
So storytelling is an ancient practice, and there are anthropologists who investigated the cultures of indigenous populations, and they discovered that storytelling and sharing stories is a fundamental practice that exists in all the indigenous cultures. So storytelling is a way of transmitting history, the history of a culture, is a way of teaching someone, transmitting wisdom and life lessons, is a way of entertaining and having a good time together by gathering maybe around the fire and telling stories, maybe funny stories, maybe sharing old forgotten memories, or maybe legends about some heroes that some cultures share together. It's also maybe a way of getting in touch maybe with more intense and difficult emotions, such as grief or sadness, but also joy and happiness and celebration. So storytelling is a fundamental practice for the mental health, collective health of a community, of individuals, of small groups, of families. And we want to speak in this video a little bit about storytelling as a general practice. And here are our perspectives. And you mentioned Michail, and Michail indeed is also one of my favorite storytellers. And he says that stories are collections of lies that speak about truth. A collection of lies that speak about truth, and it sounds very, very beautiful and very wise, this saying, that we may weave with our imagination different stories and words and worlds, but the core, there's a truth, there's an essence that is encapsulated in the story.
And we are hungry for that essence. We are hungry for stories. It's not just for little ones, for the kids, for the children, it's also for adults and elders. We are hungry. Isn't this the reason why people like to scroll on social media and read stories? Maybe. That's what I like to associate with. But we are hungry for stories. We're hungry for that nutrition which is stored in the pantry that the ancestors have left for us, so that we find our way when the nowadays world has nothing to feed us on. When there is no nutrition in this current world, then we need to go back to the stories. And there, the hidden treasures lay. I'm just getting back to this feeling of awe of how the stories have made it at this moment. Only the best stories have survived. Only the stories that we need right now are here. The ones who've done their work are gone. And the ones who are still here, they are looking for you. And maybe you're looking for them too. And be conscious, they are not the bedtime stories. Hopefully they are wake-up stories. Hopefully they wake up inside of you, your heart and your soul and your spirit, and all the things that you can be in this world, in this life.
So one idea that is very relevant in our context is what Marie-Louise von Franz, a famous Jungian psychologist who studied a lot about stories, she says that stories are expressions of the collective unconscious. And in stories we can see patterns that we find in our psyche, that we find in our personality, in our mind, in our emotions, in our soul. So stories are very good mirrors for our lives, for our journeys, for our questions, for our struggles, for our longings. So when we look into stories, we can see ourselves there in a symbolic way. Because stories come from the realm of imagination, the realm of symbols and archetypes. And it's a language that we all speak, and it's the language, it is said that is the language of our depths, of our soul, that soul speaks through images and symbols. So we all have this capacity of being imaginative, of creating symbols, metaphors. And by telling stories and listening to stories, we can very well look into our own lives, our own psyches, and find medicine there. Because I like very much this idea that stories carry medicine. Medicine for our needs, for our longings. And isn't it beautiful, this realm of stories? And we are very happy that you are with us and you want to explore it together.
I'm listening to you, Bogdan, and I'm just thinking, isn't imagination itself a medicine in a way? We are cut off from our imagination in this world. We are forced to follow steps that somebody else gives us, and deadlines and to-do lists and to-be lists. And we need to make space for the imagination. And through the imagination, things inside of us are waking up. And yeah, may this course awaken your imagination, your imaginative part. And may the next story unearths more and more these hidden capacities of yours.